Big thank you to Leanne and her team for welcoming us to talk about the work that Meta is doing in the youth and child safety space. I am thrilled to share the stage with Antigone Davis, our Global Head of Safety. Antigone, this is your first Tech Future Summit, am I right?
Yes.
I love it. Welcome.
No, I don't love it. I wish it was not.
True. Well, that means you just have to come back next year. We'll make that happen.
Fair enough.
I will tell you, this is unlike any conference you will have ever been to. You are in for a treat, maybe a ride. I think before we get into the substance, I mostly get to see the work side of you. So given the topic that we're talking about, I would love for you to tell us what the most embarrassing moment is that you had as a parent.
Okay, I hate most conversations, and also when it comes to most embarrassing as a parent, and there were so many of them that I don't know that I can actually give you one. What I'll say is that the youngest, my daughter's 27, the youngest part of her early years were basically me saying, "Mommy needs a timeout." So, you know.
I love it. You're like, actually, Mommy needs a break.
Yeah, I need a timeout. I'm gonna go sit over there.
Did she grant you that timeout?
Yeah, she just looked at me like I was crazy, and she still does, so.
Some things don't change. So Antigone, you've been leading child safety work at Meta for over a decade. You have a background as an educator. You've led work on the enforcement side of things. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about you. Who is Antigone, and what drew you to this work?
Well, yeah, I guess my background is I was a middle school teacher, which I really, really loved. But I do think the best teachers also really love the subject, not just the kids, and I really love being with the kids. I also have a background as a regulator. In a way, that's neither one of those in particular brought me to this job, although they were the path to the job. The thing for me that most connects, that the way in which I feel most connected to the job is probably actually from remembering my own experience as a young person. So I wasn't necessarily like the kid who was bullied, but I always felt like I could be. I wasn't necessarily, that vulnerability has made me, I think, throughout my life, drawn to kind of trying to create places for kids where they feel strong and less vulnerable.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that vulnerability. I'm a new parent myself. My daughter's almost 2 years old. Your daughter's in her 20s, so you've had decades of parenting
almost
experience.
30.
Almost 30.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as a parent, and then as someone who, as a teen, felt like they were right on the edge, close to being bullied, like it could always be you. How did you take some of those experiences to inform the policy and the product work that you've done at Meta in the child safety space for parents, for teens, but also for that relationship between them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been at Meta for 11 years, and the entire time that I've been there, there's always been a focus on trying to create a place that was both positive and sort of age appropriate and safe for young people. And you know, we have 50 tools to show for it, and long development of policies and thinking things through and trying to get things just right. I think more recently, though, and let's say the last 3 or so years, we've been very, very focused on teens and their families and their parents, and how do we create a place that really works for them. I mean, you know, I remember when my daughter was younger, and she really started actually on social media and tech at the beginning of this, when it really did feel like, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
And I'd spent a lot of time scaring the crap out of her, probably. But now we've tried to put in place something called teen accounts, which are designed to kind of think about all those things, like parents who are afraid, and I don't know how this works, and also teens who, interestingly, care a little bit about having the rules set up in place in a way that they can have fun and enjoy it too, and not be harassed by people, and not be bullied by people. And so this launch of teen accounts, I think, that happened within the last 3 years really shifted that.
So I'm curious, you mentioned teen accounts, by show of hands, I'm just curious from the audience, how many people have heard about teen accounts? Okay, that's a lot of folks. I'd say it's probably about a third of the audience. So I'd love for you to just break down, like, what are teen accounts? And then, one third of the audience has heard of teen accounts, 2/3 hasn't. How do folks use this? How should they engage teen accounts if they've never heard of it?
Yeah, well, so let me tell you what they are first.
Yeah, let's start there.
So teen accounts are accounts that are set up so that when you're under the age of 18, you're automatically put into these accounts. They have certain built-in additional safeguards. Those safeguards track to sort of the top concerns that we've heard from parents and families. And interestingly, they also track to teens' concerns too. So what's the content that I'm engaging with or teens engaging with? Who's connecting with them, so who's bothering them, who are their friends, who's connecting to, is it a safe space? And then also the amount of time that they're spending on the platform. And the teen accounts are set up so that you're automatically in our most private settings, our strictest messaging restrictions, so that you can really avoid unwanted contact from people you don't know. People you don't know, adults you don't know can't message you, for example. And then strictest content settings. And also for teens, what we do is we will remind them when they've been on the platform for a while. By the way, adults probably could use those reminders too. And then in the evening, notifications are turned off. And this sounds silly, but we all need sleep, and teens in particular, because their brains are developing. So we want to make sure that we're setting it up to allow for that.
Teens and adults, those notifications help me.
I need sleep, yeah.
Just double clicking on the accounts themselves, there's a lot of folks in the audience who are parents or guardians, folks who have teen siblings. If someone is setting up a teen account for the first time, what are the tools and resources available to help them? And what are some of the features that you think people should pay special attention to?
I think the great news is for teens, the setup is very straightforward, and we talk about it. We just basically walk you right through so you can see that these accounts have special protections. For parents who set up our supervisory tools, and one of the things I didn't mention, actually, which I should have mentioned, is that teens are put into these settings. If you're under the age of 16 and you want to change them, you need to have your parent or responsible adult in your life basically join that account. And they're not in your account entirely, but they set up supervisory tools. And I think that's really important for for parents who care about that. It gives you an opportunity to sort of see a little bit more. You can see who your teen is following, who's following your teen, so you can have a sense of what they're engaging in. It sort of allows for really good, important conversations. You can set time parameters around it. So, for example, like I was the first kid in my family, a total rule follower, and
I'm shocked.
And my parents. Are you saying I'm not cool?
I didn't say that.
It's fine. I was, as I said, I was close to being bullied. But my parents wouldn't have needed to worry. Like if they set a time parameter, I would have generally listened to it. Whereas my brothers were sort of both boundary testers, and so if my parents set a time limit, they would absolutely not have listened to it.
Where are you in the sibling order?
I'm first.
Yeah, same boat. I'm the eldest. Yeah. That resonates.
Yeah. By the way, the rules get easier and easier for the next child down. It's unfair.
My youngest sibling's out of control.
Yeah. So in any event, but now with something like supervisory tools, your parents can set up those boundaries. And really what we've tried to do with these tools is give parents more insights as well as some ability to set some parameters. But we want them to know with teen accounts that we have fundamental safeguards. So we don't want to shift the burden to them. We want to know that there are fundamental safeguards, but if they want to be more involved, they can. And interestingly, I think teens truly appreciate this as well. So all the research that we've done since is that teens pretty much stay in these settings. They prefer these settings. They prefer the experience. So,
well, tell me this. I think everything you described, it sounds good if you have a good relationship with your parents. Talk to me about kids who may not have that strong relationship with their parent or guardian. How do they navigate some of these settings?
Well, I think the good news is that the settings are designed in a way that I think most teens find them, working for them, and so they're not trying to change them. But if you want to change them, it's not that you have, like I would say, a responsible, trusted adult. Well, you want to bring a responsible, trusted adult, somebody that an aunt, a guardian, just a trusted adult that you can bring in to help you navigate. We know for teens, whomever that person is, having that person involved online can make for a much more positive experience.
I think that's a really important point, because I think a lot of folks automatically assume it has to be your parent. But if there's another adult in your life who you do have that relationship with and they're over the age of 18, they can serve as that guardian.
Yes.
Great. I want to pull on something that you mentioned earlier when you talked a little bit about feeling vulnerable in a school setting as a teen. One topic that I know folks in this audience care deeply about is bullying. I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about bullying and harassment and how that's handled on our platforms, specifically for teens.
Yeah, so I'll tell you everything that we do, but I do want to point out one other really great feature of teen accounts. There's something that we have called hidden words. What hidden words does is, let's say someone is, you're posting online, someone's commenting on your posts, and the comments are rude or bullying or harassing. You can set up this filter that filters words that may be typically bullying and harassing. It actually uses AI. So trained off of what is reported to us as bullying and harassing type of content, you can turn this filter on and it will remove those types of comments from your experience. In addition, you can actually set it very specific. So sometimes bullying can be very unique and specific and hard for us to identify because it's very targeted and pinpointed. You can actually put in the phrases that you want. That's automatically on for teen accounts.
So if someone is experiencing bullying using a word that people may not identify with or think is something that's harassing, they can set that setting so that they're not seeing that content.
Yeah. I mean, to give you a sense of it, in certain cultures, being called a goat, not like greatest of all time, not goat like the animal, but just being called a goat, is a very big insult. That's not something that necessarily we'd be able to pick up or tailor to your specific experience, but if it's something you can put that in.
I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about AI characters. Right now, I think as folks in the audience know, there's a global conversation around how teens are engaging with AI characters. I would love for you to tell us just a little bit about some of the guardrails to protect teens who are engaging with this type of AI.
Yeah, well, first of all, teens are engaging. Let me start by saying teens are engaging with AI in really creative and fun and interesting ways. So some of it is tutors for homework. Some of it is I have a hobby, I want to be a chef, learning all types of things and working with using AI to get guidance and information and skills and develop skills. Some of it's really also just quite creative, and then some of it's just a lot of fun and play. But we're seeing really interesting and fun use cases by teens, which is pretty typical because teens are often early adopters of tech. But we want to make sure that we have the right guardrails in place. So we have certain policies in place. We're going to remove characters that may be developed that violate those policies. We will remove content that people try to generate that violates those policies. We'll actually refuse prompts that are designed to generate that policy violating content. We also have all the tools that I mentioned for teen accounts, so time limits and other things apply in the context of AI. I think probably maybe one of the things that people worry about a lot is, will teens be able to recognize that they're still engaging with AI?
Yeah.
So we have a reminder to remind them that they're engaging with AI, to kind of AI to break remind that and break any barriers down. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing and we're thinking about a lot. There are also just some characters that we remove entirely from that experience. We're trying to move with an abundance of caution when it comes to young people and AI for now.
Well, how much visibility would parents have that their teens are using AI?
It's a really good question. The tools that I mentioned before, so if you've set up supervisory tools, you can see who the AI characters that your teen is engaging with. So you have a very good visibility into that.
Yeah, I think that's important, just to be able to have a two-way conversation there. A lot of the things that you named, companies can do on their own, right? These are measures that we're taking. I think that industry-wide regulation is also a really important part of the conversation. I think with so many industry representatives here, also the range of conversations that you have with lawmakers and parents around the world, I'd love for you to talk about how you think about regulation, both in the US and then really globally.
Well, let me start by some of the facts that have really guided my thinking and our thinking in this area, particularly for young people.
Please.
So on average, teens use about 40 different apps. My guess is most of the time their parents, and this includes me and I work in tech, couldn't have named more than 5 of the apps that their teen was using. They had no idea.
That stat blows my mind every time.
Well, I have a bigger number that I'll blow your mind. So if you hand your teen a phone, and a lot of people hand their kids phones well before the age of 13, well before they're supposed to be can actually legally join social media, they hand them a phone. Maybe it's because they're riding a public bus, and the parent's not going to be with them, and they want to have a way to be in touch with them.
It's for safety for a lot of folks.
For safety reasons, for a variety of reasons. Just they need it for family operations, basically. And you might hand your 10-year-old a phone. When you hand your child a phone, there's an app store in that phone, and inside of that app store, depending on which phone you have, is somewhere between the neighborhood of 1.5 million to 2 million apps. That's mind-blowing to me, and there are more and new ones every day. And so your teen can download, or your 10-year-old can download any one of those apps. And there are tools inside of the device in the app store to set it up so that you can individually remove an app or remove a subset of apps, but it's not something that most parents know about.
And they would have to do that one by one? Or
well, you can do some settings where you can remove like a whole set of ratings of apps.
Like a type of app, okay.
But challenges there are lots of apps that go, say that they're 12 plus rating, where you might be like, yeah, I don't know if that's really 12 plus.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, a big challenge for parents. And I think what happens is that becomes overwhelming. And so a lot of parents shut down. A lot of parents say, I can't deal with this, or they just sort of don't want to deal with it, or they go the extreme like I did, which was sort of scare my daughter to death a little bit in the beginning.
That's one tactic.
It's a great parenting tactic, not at all. But anyway, so you have access to this many apps. Your teens are using somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 apps. And what can we do to make it just easier, simpler for parents, and have a simple system that works? Instead of what we're seeing right now, which is a patchwork of like thousands of regulations all over the world. I was just talking to someone from compliance at Google, and
that was Mia.
and it was the number of regulations at this point is sort of incredible, and some of them are complementary, some of them actually butt up against each other. Most of them probably parents have no idea how they work or what they're doing, nor do those of us who are those people who are not parents. And so just spent a lot of time thinking about what would be simple for parents and for families and for most of us. And I think a simple system would be inside of your phone, you have an app store, it automatically, when your teen goes to download an app, it notifies the parent, which all happens when you set up the account, so they know who the parent is when you set up that account. You notify that parent, can I download this app? Parent has an opportunity to say yes or no. They can read a little bit about the app. You share a bit of information. Does the app use AI? What type of content? What's the age rating? And they can make a decision, yes or no. And the value for the 1.5 million apps in the App Store is that you then have a way to engage with whoever that responsible adult is, share those supervisory tools, and set up a system that works. You also have the accurate age of that minor, or the age at least that the parent or the responsible adult has provided, so that you can ensure that the safeguards are the right safeguards for that individual.
You said accurate age. Can you share a little bit more about why having the accurate age is important?
Yeah, I think we'll just go back to teen accounts. Teen accounts are designed in a way that under 18 you get all these safeguards. If you're under 16, you need to get your parents' permission to change those, or a responsible adult to change those safeguards. If you're 16 and above, you can change those safeguards on your own. It's really hard for us to know somebody's age. We can ask you to state your age. That's useful. We can use some of the information about your activity on the platform to understand your age. We have used AI and built classifiers to identify whether you're an adult or a minor, but between 16 and 18, that's really hard to know. Between 13 and 16, that's really hard to know. So how do you get that accurate age? And if you think about when someone buys a phone and sets up the phone, you have to have an adult. So you have to have an adult because you have to have a credit card attached to the service and to the phone. So you have this moment where the adult and the minor, the teen or younger than that, are in the same place at the same time setting up the account. So at a minimum, you get that adult attested age. Can an adult lie? Certainly. We will continue to do our age assurance and use those signals that we have to try to determine if someone is telling us the truth about their age and correct it if they're not. But that having that first layer across all apps where you have an opportunity to know age, and in a way that's actually more privacy protecting than asking for an ID or a face, sort of a photo of your face to identify your features and try to guess your age.
So this more streamlined approach, there's a lot of momentum in the US. I know there's bills at the federal level. There have been 3 bills passed at the state level. California, I think the bill's sitting on the governor's desk to sign. What are you seeing in some of the conversations that you're having around the world? Are there trends that are more prominent outside of the US, or are you hearing some of the same feedback from lawmakers and from parents?
Well, it's interesting. I think it may be a little bit because people feel frustrated. There is definitely a trend to just ban these technologies for kids, both social media as well as AI. I don't think that's probably an effective solution. I also don't think it's probably a realistic solution. It also takes away voice from a lot of people who have found these technologies to be incredibly important to their participation in the world. So when you start having those conversations, the next set of conversations tend to be, well, how do we put in place a set of safeguards that we all can kind of agree on? And how do we bring in some, if we're not going to ban it, if we're not going to say no, what's the next alternative? And I think some sort of family unit structure globally is common. So it doesn't have, it may vary, there may be differences in what that family unit looks like, but for most minors, there is some kind of a family unit. And that doesn't necessarily even have to be a relative or an adult. It can actually be even in a social work type of situation. You have some kind of a unit that's there to, hopefully, to support that minor. There are, of course, unfortunately, minors who don't. But that's the unit that we rely on for trying to help take kids from when they're young to growing up and being independent. And so how can we leverage that unit? And when you start to have that conversation, this concept of creating a model in which a responsible adult can be a part of that teen's life online in the early stages really resonates from people. And we're starting to see a trend shift from ban to some kind of parental approval or responsible adult approval model.
Antigone, I think some people may listen to you and they say, okay, you've got teen accounts, you've checked the box. Let's be honest, things are never that simple. In this area, you always have to iterate. I'm curious what's ahead, what's around the corner, what comes after teen accounts? What are you continuing to iterate on with product and policy teams?
So I would say the first thing is, even since we launched teen accounts, we've had new announcements since teen accounts. So now for live, you can't automatically use live. It's turned off. You'd have to get your parents' permission to use live on teen accounts. I think one of the areas that we're still very focused on, and I feel like we're trying to tweak and don't feel like we have exactly right, is in the area of content. So I mentioned we have this content control. We call it the sensitive content control. It's designed to essentially, for certain types of sensitive content, not recommend it to you. But what we've heard from parents is and from teens, it's not just the recommendations, it's the comments, it's the other pieces of the experience as well. And so we're looking at something that would be simpler and also where we have a mental model on which to gauge. So can I do what you did before? How many people of you in the audience have heard of our community standards? Okay.
That's a good fourth.
It's more, I mean, it's maybe a little bit less than teen accounts, I'm not really sure, but most people are not aware of our community standards. If I said, okay, we have rules around content, people may have a better sense of that. But every platform has their own set of rules, and it's pretty hard to figure out what are they anchoring on, how have they picked it, and so we're trying to figure out, is there a mental model that we can give to people to help them understand the kind of the structure around those rules that will make it easier for parents and for teens.
I am sadly getting a signal that we're out of time, so the last thing I want to ask you, what is your favorite social media account that you follow, and why do you follow this account?
Oh God, I hate that's again.
Maybe it's a guilty pleasure.
I hate favorite conversation,
Family.
like questions. I'm like, I don't have favorites, except for like, oh, okay, favorites. My daughters.
I love that. I love that, and it's so full circle for this conversation. Thank you so much, Antigone. Thank you so much to the audience.